All right, the I can for today is I can identify and generate equivalent fractions. We'll start with example A, looking at identifying equivalent fractions. So an easy little trick is called the X method. So you're going to multiply the first denominator by the second numerator. Just think diagonal, right? 8 times 1, and write the product on the top is 8. And then multiply the second denominator by the first numerator. 4 times 2 is 8. If both numbers are equivalent or equal, then the fractions are equal. Let's try another one. Let's say we have 1/2 and 10/20ths, and we're trying to figure out if these are equivalent fractions. Again, draw an X. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 times 1 is 20. Both of the numbers are equivalent. That means the fractions are equivalent. Let's try one last one. Let's say we have 3/4 and 3/8. Again, draw your X just to help you kind of figure out what numbers you're multiplying. 4 times 3 is 12. 8 times 3 is 24. Now these numbers are not the same, so the fractions are not equivalent. And this will also tell you which fraction is greater. 3/4 is greater than 3/8. 3/4 is greater than 3/8 because 24 is greater than 12. So that's how you identify equivalent fractions. And let's look at generate equivalent fractions. So let's look at some of these fractions. So this is example D. So you take any fraction, let's just do 1/4. And if you multiply the numerator and the denominator, the top and the bottom, by the same number, you can choose any number you want, you will generate an equivalent fraction. So 1 times 2 is 2. And then 4 times 2 is 8. 1/4 is equal to 2/8. Let's try another one. Let's just do 2/3. I have a fraction. I need to generate an equivalent fraction. All I have to do is multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. I'm just going to choose 2 again. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3 because I multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. All right, let's try one last one. Let's do 7/8. Again, I'm trying to generate an equivalent fraction. All I have to do is multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. I'm just choosing 2 each time because it's easier. And if you're just trying to generate any equivalent fraction, you can use any number. Just use a smaller number. It'll be easier to find an equivalent fraction. 7 times 2 is equal to 14. And then 8 times 2 is equal to 16. So 14/16 is equal to 7/8. Identifying equivalent fractions. Little trick is use the X method. Multiply the denominator by the numerator, the opposite numerator, and the opposite denominator by the opposite numerator. Figure out if those numbers are equal. If they're equal, they're equivalent fractions. If they're not equivalent fractions. And whichever number is greater is the greater fraction. Generating equivalent fractions, you multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, you will generate an equivalent fraction. And that's it.